Welcome to Soul Rising. We're your hosts, Amy and Erin. We're two everyday mediums who are passionate about taking the woo-woo out of spirituality and bringing it down to earth. So put the kettle on, grab a chair, and join us. Hey everyone!
Hello, welcome back to another episode of Soul Rising. It's been a minute.
It's been a minute, but here we are, happy on a Saturday morning for you. Looking a little tired if you're looking at us on.
If you see us, we have tape kind of holding back our eyes.
My eyes are like. We're just chatting off camera that we were neither of us slept very well last night, so we're feeling a little tired, but we know that once we get going,
We'll get the energy.
Yeah. And I come with coffee. I don't know about you, Erin, but I come with coffee.
I forgot mine in the kitchen, so after we finish recording this, I'm gonna go grab it.
We'll take a break.
Yep. But it's okay.
Yeah, lots have happened since we've seen each other last. It's been 2 months.
Yeah, oh my God, it has.
Yeah, and Erin is now wearing another ring on her finger, so let's congratulate Erin. Yay!
Woo! There it is. There she goes.
You get something like specially made to fit over the other one, or
no? Here, I'll show you. It just it's very simple. I like it. It's an asymmetrical ring for our listeners.
Plain gold band.
Plain gold band, a few diamonds just like on the side, but it literally just fits so perfectly around that emerald. There, so
very pretty.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of a curvature to it, which makes it asymmetrical, so it just fits. Yeah,
it's beautiful.
Thanks.
Yeah. So tell us about the big day.
It was amazing. We were incredibly lucky to have such a great venue. So honestly, really and truly, shout out to the Allura Mill. The team was just flawless. Like everything just was so smooth. They were also incredibly nice, and everybody in Allura is very, very nice. I went to go get coffee the day of the wedding, and somebody forgot to hold the door open for me, which is like not a big deal. Like you don't have to.
Right.
But she turned around and she was like, "I'm so sorry. I didn't even hold the door open for you. You know what? Here you go." And she like kind of came back and held the door, and I was like, it's like, am I in Oz? Like where? I was like, that's so nice of you. It's okay. Like, we're from Toronto. We're totally used to just, people kind of doing their own thing. She was like, yeah, but not here. We're not here.
Nice.
So, nice. Yeah. One of my favorite moments was after the ceremony, the staff snuck us away. They had like a little private space, and they greeted us with cocktails, hors d'oeuvres, and some oysters. And we just got to like be alone for 15 minutes.
I don't know why, but that makes me want to cry, and I don't know why. Are you getting emotional? Am I feeling it from you? Okay.
Yeah, maybe. It just was like, it was like
crying.
It just was incredibly special. Yeah. And honestly, like, yeah, we're paying for it, but like they went above and beyond.
Yes.
They really did. Like we were told we weren't able to get certain things, and they gave us things.
Right.
So it just they were really nice to work with. And Allura is a really beautiful town. So everybody, if you're in Ontario, you're coming to visit, definitely go check out Allura and Fergus.
How far away is that from the Toronto area?
An hour and a half.
Okay.
Yeah. An hour and a half. So it's not too far.
No.
It's a nice drive. Yeah, it was a really, really
beautiful,
special place. Yeah. And when I was walking to get the coffee, my mom and I also just like went for a walk before getting ready, and I found a pin. I mean, everybody gets married there, but I found a pin on the ground that said bride.
Oh no, that's special. I think that's special.
I took that as like a little hello from my spirit folks, and
So it sounds like you had a beautiful day. I've been noticing some pictures, and they're gorgeous.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
You chose a really lovely photographer.
Oh, shout out Heather Hugo. Everybody go check her out. She honestly is amazing. I'm going to use her again for other photos. And also she's just become like a
A
friend.
friend. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Very sweet. So tell us about well, tell us anything you want about the day, but I'm really curious because we talked before in the past about the place and it being a historical place. I know that it was a busy day, right? So you were like probably busy doing things, but did you feel anything energetically in the space, like spirit wise?
Not in the like hotel itself. Um, Not really. No.
Okay.
I think also I was just like not
Right. That's what I was thinking. It wasn't the
zoned
time of the
into
day. It was
it.
like, yeah,
Um, I think there's things there for sure, but I just, yeah,
yeah, it
I
wasn't.
didn't experience anything. No. Yeah.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
I was just curious about that.
No, I know I wish. I did experience, we went to Scotland for our
Oh,
honeymoon.
tell us more. I feel like I'm going to sneeze, so if I do, I apologize. Okay.
No, that's okay.
I'm
Sneeze.
holding it in, and I'm like, I'm
Sneeze
going.
away. There's that thing. Bless you.
Oh, sorry. It
Did you
was
ever
coming back
watch
to like
that
5 minutes.
movie Ghost with, was it, is it Ghost with Ricky Gervais, and he sees um spirits, and every time somebody sneezes it's because a ghost or a spirit walks through
Really?
the person. Yeah.
Maybe that's why, because I'm like, Laura Mills ghost, where are you? And then I'm like,
Walk you through you. um Beautiful. Scotland was beautiful. So
mm,
just to recap real quick, like our itinerary was, we did 4 nights in Edinburgh, which is beautiful, historic, everything's just well preserved. We stayed in this 17th century like cylinder building that an old laird would used to stay at. Like that's the story, and it's part of like the preservation society there in Scotland, and they've turned it into little apartments for people to rent
is
out.
that the one you showed me where you were like walking up the stairs and they were super steep? Okay.
Yeah, and like just round and round and round
Yes.
and going up all of these like so many stairs, but we got our steps in.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah.
And did you have to walk to the top of, is it Arthur's Seat? Is that what it's called? The gate?
Yes.
Did you have to walk there? Is that
Yeah.
how it works when you want to get up to the top?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we went out for the best Indian food I think I've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
So good. We went to Dishoom. So if anyone's in, I think there's a bunch. It's a bit of a chain in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the best food, the best service. That was the
Mm-hmm.
only place that we went to where we said we were on our honeymoon, and they were like, drinks and dessert on us.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
And then we were like, well, Arthur's Seat isn't too far. It was a little bit of a walk. And let's go for a hike. All right.
Yeah,
Do
sure.
some heavy food.
Had a
Sure.
couple drinks and full of Indian food. Like walked to the top of the hill.
Yeah. And so it went, anyways, so we hiked up Arthur's Seat, which was probably a 40-minute hike up
Mm-hmm.
to the top. And best part is we saw another couple, a couple get engaged. Or got proposed to. Yeah. And I was like, oh, is it happening? Hell. He's like, shut up. Don't ruin it for him.
That's so sweet.
So after I went up to them, because they were like kind of looking around, I was like, this like Canadian, right? Do you want me to take a picture of you? I'm so happy for you guys. We're on our honeymoon.
Mm.
Just turned into my mother.
We
But
all
yeah.
do.
Yeah. So it was anyways, so we did that in Edinburgh. Then we did a night in Glasgow. Then we rented a car and we traveled up to Isle of Skye, which is phenomenal and beautiful, and it just made me, honest to God, had just an appreciation for being alive, because it's so mountainous and they're massive mountains, just massive, towering over you. It just makes you feel so small.
Yeah.
And I honestly went on these hikes because some of them were a bit like treacherous.
Yeah.
Because they're so like, you have like this little path, and it was like a steep, and like if you fell, you fell. Like,
Yes.
so I just went, thank you, Mother Earth, thank you so much for letting me be here. I just was, I was like, thank you. It was beautiful. Yeah. So
Yeah. And
highly recommend.
the history and like just how ancient
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
land is, and how
Oh my gosh.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I bet
And then
I bet
our
you had
last,
like a magic energy. Did you feel it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. I made sure that we went to some places that I was like, okay, this, we went to the World's End pub. It's famously haunted. I
Hmm.
was like, we're going to go to this pub because they filmed Outlander there and it's also supposed to be really haunted. It's one of the oldest pubs here. um, so that was really good. The last night in because when we did Isle of Skye, we traveled back to Edinburgh for one final night before we flew out. So we stayed really somewhere close to the airport, and it's this old building. What's it called again? I forget. It's and again cylinder building that used to be a temple, and there's so much history there. Like there's World War II affiliations there,
Hmm.
where they somebody from Hitler's army signed some like declaration saying they give up or whatever,
Yeah.
the proper terminology for that. Um, so it had a lot of history there.
Hmm.
That building, I was like, there's something here for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you sent me like a little voice video, like a little note
Yeah.
in Instagram, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
and it started to rain and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
felt magical just from
It was so
me like watching the video.
yeah. It was so cool. We were so lucky.
But you got to
Uh,
sleep through the night. Nobody like woke you up.
no, just Alex is snoring. So
Okay. Get used to
no
that.
ghosts, no ghosts. Because I literally, Amy, I was like, I know somebody is here, but I don't want to experience it. I was like, I just want to sleep through the night because we gotta get up early. We had to get up super early the next day. So.
I think that's a great point though, because we talk a lot about like setting boundaries with spirit and intention.
Hmm.
And you can say like, hey, not tonight, thanks.
Yeah,
But you could also set your intention where you're like, okay, like scare the crap out of me, like
yeah.
give it to
Or
me if
like,
you
hey,
wanted
I'm
to.
yeah,
Yes. Which
yeah,
people do. They rent old hotel rooms or whatever where they've heard it's
yeah.
haunted to do those kind of things. But if you are staying in a place that is said to be haunted, you can say, not tonight, please. I just
Not
want to
tonight.
have a good night's sleep.
Yeah, I respect this place. This is your space. Thank you for letting me stay here. But also, I need to, yeah,
Yeah.
get up early.
Yeah, I like that you made that point because I think of a lot of people in general, maybe a lot of our listeners,
Hmm.
I wonder about that sometimes,
Yeah.
like are you always on? Are you always feeling stuff? It
Oh
seems
yeah. I don't know about you. I think feel like we get that question a lot. Do you always see
too.
things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just watching a like YouTube video the other day of like John Edward,
Oh yeah.
and he was talking, somebody asked him that, are you always on? He's like, no. He's so like to the point, right? No, I'm not. Why would I want to be always on? No.
I
You know
say
what's been interesting when I was listening to him is like I swear I was like binge watching things about him on YouTube one night,
yeah.
and he was doing a lot of like he seems to be in Australia a lot, at least like a lot of these YouTube videos were in Australia on this particular show, and he would like read the audience, and he would go where he's directed like we do in a mediumship demonstration.
Yeah.
But sometimes people would ask questions like, hey, I'm wondering if so and so is around. And he'd be like, sorry, I can't direct dial. And
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Because then I'm like, how do you do a one on one reading if you can't direct dial? Can you just not direct dial in this environment? I
Mm.
mean, I wonder.
Yeah.
Because,
I mean, because sometimes we do like, well, I don't know about you, but sometimes I do readings, and the person they really want to come through doesn't come through that day.
right.
Um, or they'll come through, but it's like at the last moment.
Yes. Yeah.
So, but part of, and so I don't know. I feel like we can try to tune in as much as we can, but I also feel like there are elements in it with doing this work with like, even if people have specific questions, sometimes I get crickets.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm not seeing anything, doesn't mean it's not going to happen, or it's,
Yeah.
it's not a bad thing. It's just either we're not meant to know right now.
Mhm.
I can, and then I pull a little card and try to give as much guidance as I can on it.
Yeah.
Um, but that's usually what I say, or we're just not clear on the situation ourselves. And so I can't see because you also can't see.
Yeah, it might be a matter as you were speaking and as I was thinking about this, I'm like, it might be a matter of him just being like, kind of having really thick boundaries up, you know,
That's what
like
I'm wondering too,
if
exactly.
they're not automatically here, then I'm not taking the time to try to dial in.
Because it does
Yeah.
probably it does take a bit of energy if the
Yeah.
spirit's not coming in right away, and you're like, okay, and it's like trying to fish a little bit.
Yes. Yeah, that's happened for sure for me at times where I'm like, I feel them, but they're not close enough. And
You're
then
not
if I
close
stay with
enough.
it
Yeah,
long enough, then they come in
you get a little
further.
bit.
But it's probably just a matter of not that he can't direct dial, that he will not direct dial in that
Yes.
situation.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that. I'm like, what do you mean you can't direct dial? He's been doing this for like 40 years or something, he said.
Yeah.
Like a
Wow.
long time.
Yeah.
So he's probably just like,
He just puts up those boundaries, I think,
yeah.
too, right?
Yeah.
Like, sorry, this is what's coming through
Yeah.
at this moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting watching like other mediums work because like I don't know about you, but like I've watched Long Island Medium from time to time. I've watched like Tyler Henry's specials, but other than that, like I don't ever really like watch mediums work.
Yeah.
But once in a while I get on YouTube and I start watching it. It's interesting how
Yeah.
we all have their similarities,
It's very similar, but we all read differently.
but we all read differently. Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very interesting how it works. And he was I was watching this interview with John Edward, and just talking about like how different readers read differently and have different skills. And
Yeah.
yeah, no one person is the same.
No. And I don't think there's any right way of doing it
Yeah.
necessarily.
I
mean,
think
ethically, maybe,
ethically,
yeah.
yeah. But other than that,
Other
it,
than that,
yeah. Hmm.
there's not like a how-to book of like the proper way to dial into spirit.
No, and that's, and that's kind of what I'm discovering as I'm kind of thinking about future steps with like
Yeah.
courses and things like that. And I'm like, there isn't really one set way. Like when you're listening to somebody tell you how to, there might be some universal truths that like may work for everyone, but for the most part, it's like what worked for them.
Yes.
Or
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I feel like you and I also just always stress that to people of like, this is what works for us. What works for us doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you. But
yes.
here's what you might you can try. And if
You
it
can try.
resonates with you, go for it,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Because it's very much of like you're just trying to. I think it's a muscle you're building, but you're also trying to build that relationship with spirit.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yep.
yeah, to connect.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to share anything else with us about that? Was a little off topic, but really, because we were talking about being dialed in or not dialed in, and
Yeah.
it sounds like you, for the most part, were unbothered by spirit on your honeymoon. Just got
Well, I
to
put up those boundaries. I was
yeah,
like, I'll feel you, but I don't want to like see you or anything anything like that.
yeah,
But anyways, it was a good trip. Highly recommend. Put that on your bucket list,
definitely.
especially if you like hiking. Isle of Skye, check it out. Um, on the topic of spirits,
Mm-hmm.
so my grandmother passed away.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. It's she's quite old, not doing so great, declining, and she's at peace. She's more at peace now.
Mm-hmm.
So I was telling Amy too off video that I was like asking my grandma for signs, and I was like, Grandma, like, where are you at?
Yeah.
Like, I haven't even like felt you. Are you good? I was like, I'm just, if you can send me a hummingbird. And I don't necessarily know why hummingbird. I think part of it is because when I would go and visit them, they used to live, my grandmother and my grandfather, when they retired, they lived in Penticton, BC, which is also a beautiful place.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a hummingbird feeder. So I think that's partly why of it, but that image came to my mind when I was asking for signs. So it could have also just been her way of saying, this all come through for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I was on my way to work one day and I said, where are you at? Just haven't felt you, want to know if you're okay. Anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be a physical hummingbird. It's also the time of year it is. Like, I'm not going to see hummingbirds. It's still a bit cool out.
Yeah.
So just send me a sign if you can. that same day I got to work. I picked up a book to read for one of my students that I work with, and really not thinking anything about what I had said.
Mhm.
It was a book about honey, with Honey the Pooh.
Honey the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the
See,
Pooh, I'm
you said it
sorry. I keep
earlier, you said
saying
a
honey.
hummingbird. I love it.
Do I want honey? Yes.
You know what's funny is I've been on a honey kick lately.
Really?
I never used to like honey. Before when we were talking earlier and I ate a piece of toast, there was honey on it. I put honey on everything in the last month. I'm craving it. I don't know why.
And I've
Weird.
also been looking at skincare products that have like honey.
Honey in it. There's a whole energy of like, but you know what's funny is there was like a whole like month of April where bee messages came up constantly for me. And then they
Whoa.
were coming up like with other people on in social media and things where like bee stuff would come up. And I'm like, what is happening with
Whoa.
bees and the honey? So, anyways, side note.
And that's also okay, cool. That's cool because that's also like when my end of April, I think that's when this happened.
Right. Yeah, it was April when all those
When all
messages.
those messages were coming
Yeah.
through. That's really cool. So we were Winnie the Pooh. I almost
Yeah.
said it again. And it's not about hummingbirds at all. Nothing to do with that. I get to a page in the book, and there's a part about hummingbirds.
Yeah.
Hummingbirds have nests, and hummingbirds this, which is interesting because I'm looking at this and I'm like, this should be about birds, but it says hummingbird
Hummingbird specifically. Yeah.
And ever since then, for whatever reason, I pick up a book, not thinking about it. There's a hummingbird reference in the book.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, Grandma, I get it. Hummingbirds and books. Also, I should read more. I hear you. So
You've been busy. It's okay. You can get back to it.
she's like, this is how we're gonna get you back on. But yeah. And I thought, so good message of it doesn't have to be the hummingbird itself. It doesn't have to be the physical thing. It can come to you in many different forms. And that's just like a really great example of it. And other than that, I haven't completely felt her, but her passing is still pretty recent. So maybe she's also trying to figure things out where she is on her end.
Did your grandfather pass before her?
Yeah.
Maybe there's a little celebration happening.
Oh, absolutely. They are dancing. They're probably having drinks.
I don't know why. Did they like to play cards? Because I saw cards in my mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, we used to play sequence a lot, and that involves cards.
Yeah, I saw cards like fanned out, like if somebody had like a.
Aww.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's
playing cards. I just felt like maybe that was coming to say, "Yep, that's what we're doing. We're having fun.
We're having fun playing cards.
Fun." Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why I feel emotional in this episode. I just do. Like the whole time you were talking about your honeymoon, I got emotional, and I'm like, why? I mean, it's like an emotional, it's a beautiful thing, but like, why do I feel like I'm gonna cry?
All good.
Now, is it okay to share? Like you shared with me, and I've had this experience too with my maternal grandfather of dementia.
Yeah.
And so your grandmother had
dementia.
Yeah. When I've noticed that there, like lately, because we talked before about client reading sometimes having a theme, so we'll receive a lot of
yes.
Have you had a theme with dementia lately?
Yes, I have.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Me too.
Yep. Or it's like the mind is kind of in and out, not completely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It like dementia's come up a lot lately, or I'll say there's this feeling of not being super clear-headed or a little foggy. Sometimes they tell me, or I'm like there and I'm not there. And I'll say, so like if this isn't dementia, then it could just be like,
Alzheimer's even.
Getting older. Maybe it's connected to like a heavy medication, but it's definitely this feeling of like being in and out. The reason I brought this up and asked you is because I wondered, like, when you connect to someone's loved one in spirit, I can't see you, Erin, but can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. I can't see your picture. Yeah, I can't see your picture on the screen anymore, but that's okay. It says recording continues smoothly. Live video will return when the internet improves. Is what it said. Yeah, it's Grandma, right?
Grandma.
No, it's okay. So if you're on YouTube, not seeing Erin right now, but that's okay. As long as we can hear her, it's great. So
Scott put up a funny picture of me.
Yeah, I'll ask Scott to do that. I took note of the time. So when I've connected to people and they mention that they have dementia, something comes through often, this feeling of kind of being in and out of the spirit world. Have you
Yes.
experienced this too?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, they've got
You know,
one
because
foot.
I've been,
Yeah.
yes, one foot in one realm and one in the other. This has brought me a lot of peace actually when I think about, you know, there you're back now. I can see your video.
Oh, thanks,
Um,
Grandma.
when I think about my grandfather, because he was just, you know, like so special to me. And when this all started to happen, I was only in my early 20s and I was
Yeah.
busy university student and it scared me. It scared me. And so I didn't visit as much, you know, I
Yeah.
kind of like stayed back a little bit and it was because it just frightened me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
that he wasn't him anymore.
Yeah.
I've always carried that and regretted that.
Mm.
But at the same time, it's brought me a lot of peace to, because he had a really hard time when he had dementia. And I know some patients with dementia and Alzheimer's can become almost aggressive or angry,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he was.
He
And
was.
so yeah, and that was
Sorry.
not his personality in life.
Yeah.
That was part of it that scared me, right?
Yeah.
Where they had to like have only have certain nurses would deal with him and others would not because he was physical, but he was probably terrified,
He
right?
just didn't know what was
He didn't
happening.
know what was happening. He was scared. I remember the one and only time that we visited him with, like, after I become a mom. It was my daughter Abby, who's now 17. She was just this little like 6 month old baby, and it was at the time like when I grew up, my grandparents lived in Nova Scotia, like as I did. But then when he started to get sick, they moved back to Ontario. Something to do with like long term care facilities
Yeah.
and I don't know. Anyways,
Yeah.
they moved back to Ontario. So we visited with Abby and we went to see him. He was up in Beaverton. I don't know if you know where Beaverton is,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
that's where we were. And I remember going in to see him and he was like he had this aggression towards men. So he was definitely like giving the stink eye to Scott and Scott
Mm.
was kind of staying behind. But I had Abby in my lap and he kept holding her foot like very gently and he was so gentle and there was moments I felt of clarity and then moments
Yeah.
of not at
Yeah.
all, but he was just so gentle with her.
Mm.
It just sticks out to me. But I'm just sharing this because I felt like I lost him and I felt like he was gone in
Yes.
those moments.
Yeah.
And since I've become a medium and have done this work and have connected to other people, multiple people in spirit that have
Have
passed
passed.
similar ways,
Yeah.
it brings me peace to know like that when he wasn't here,
He was.
he was there.
Yeah.
And that the confusion is like, okay, now I'm back here. What? You know, and then I'm
Yeah.
there, and then I'm
Yeah.
back. And then it's like highly confusing.
Well, you think about it, it must be, and like very stressful and scary
Yeah.
because you're not sure
Yeah.
what's going on.
What is happening?
I don't know if you've seen that. I mean, I'm not a nurse, so maybe some might disagree, but I I think it's around Alzheimer's, maybe not so much dementia, but the movie The Father with Anthony Hopkins. Have you seen that movie?
No.
I think you can watch it now on Prime or Crave. And in that movie he has Anthony Hopkins has Alzheimer's. I
Yeah.
believe. I could be totally wrong, but it shows what he's going through his perspective, and so you see all these different scenes changing, and then at the end you see what is reality versus like his reality
Oh
throughout the whole
wait,
movie.
I have seen this.
You've seen, yeah,
Because his daughter came and stayed with him.
yeah,
I have seen it. As soon as you started talking about the different reality piece, I'm like, yes, I have seen that.
yeah.
Just recently, actually, maybe a couple months ago.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Okay.
I loved it. I thought it was a. I don't know what others think, but you kind of see a little bit of what it might be like going
That
through
that
suffering
had
through
Tony
going through
Collette
it.
in it, right? Was Tony
Yes.
Collette? Yes. It was.
No, no.
No.
I know a British actress. Oh, but she's so
No.
good. She's in
Laura
Broadchurch.
Linney?
Huh?
No. Oh, Broadchurch. Yes, I know who you
You
mean.
know,
I
with the
can't remember her
shorter
name. The dark
hair.
hair, curly dark hair.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't
I'm
remember her name.
sorry.
Yeah.
But
That's
yeah.
why I was thinking to Tony Collette. Tony Collette is in something that I saw recently that has a similar theme. Might not be the same movie, but she's in something where she plays a daughter of an older gentleman. I don't know. I might have.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Also love Tony Collette.
I
So,
love Tony Collette too. I think she's awesome.
yeah.
Kind of reminds me too. I know this is not about dementia or Alzheimer's, but The movie What Dreams May Come. Have you ever seen that movie?
Yes.
Oh my God. I
Yeah.
know. That's a
That's
movie I used to watch a lot as like a teenager, like in the late 90s. And then I think to myself, like, such heavy
that's
content.
a very heavy, yeah.
Heavy
That's
content.
with Robin Williams, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
he passes and we see where he
Well,
goes.
so his spoiler alert, if you haven't watched What Dreams May Come, you can just skip through this part as we're going to talk about
Oh
what.
yeah, sorry.
No, that's okay. His,
Disclaimer.
yeah, disclaimer, spoiler alert. His wife and kids are in a car accident and die.
Yeah.
And he's then commits suicide
Suicide.
to join them.
Yeah.
And then it's
Really
like,
sad. Yeah.
what's on the other side? The spirit world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
It's
watched that recently.
Did you?
I will say, doesn't hold up. Sir.
No.
It's a very heavy topic. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. I'm not laughing at the topic, but the movie itself doesn't hold up. But I also watched that years ago, really liking just the depiction of it is a little bit religious.
Mhm.
It has religious elements to it.
The part that I like is how the loved ones can show up as differently
Yes.
in the afterlife.
Yeah.
Like, this is your daughter, but it doesn't look like your daughter.
Yeah.
You know, I like that part
Me too.
because I think that
I think
can
that's
happen.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
otherwise, it was definitely a heavy kind of
It
movie.
was
But it just reminded me because we're kind of going into a different
a
realm.
different realm. Yeah.
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 Can
Yeah.
you think of any other movies that I
Are
can't?
good.
So I'm putting you on the spot, but like any other movies in which they kind of talk about the spirit world or the afterlife,
Um,
other than like The Good Place?
I think The Sixth Sense is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I know it's a scary movie, and some of it is definitely like, just for show.
Yeah.
I don't think Amy or I physically see spirits that way. Although I feel like it can happen. I
I
definitely
feel
think
like
it
some
can
people
happen.
can. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I do think it can be there where people pass, and maybe you don't necessarily know what's happening right away.
Yeah. Confusion.
There's confusion. Yeah,
Mhm.
I could, because you, if especially maybe how you passed, or you're not, maybe you passed away quite young, or it could vary. Maybe you didn't have necessarily a belief for the afterlife, or whatever it is, but maybe you thought it would be different. But I do
Or you've
think
got
there could be
unfinished
some.
business.
Yeah, unfinished.
I'm thinking of like Ghost Whisperer too, the
Yeah,
show,
yeah,
how that was all about unfinished business. Now,
unfinished.
I've heard like certain mediums talk about how, there is no need for a medium to like convince the spirit to go to the other side. Like, that's not actually what would happen. Like, somebody like the Ghost Whisperer, it's not like anybody here would be like, come, it's safe, go to the light.
I don't think it's our
um
job. Does that make
I don't
sense?
think, yeah, because I was listening to somebody, actually an evidential medium on YouTube,
Yeah,
who teaches evidential mediumship, and she was kind of talking about how that's very ego based. Like, the spirit world does not need us to bring them to the light. Like, they will go to the light. So I wondered if you agreed with that too.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think maybe they could hang around, and it's maybe their choice,
Yes.
right? Um, I think what we maybe we could do is call in people. We could call in people, say, hey, you want to do a wellness check, or see what's going on with
Yeah.
so and so. But I don't think, and even if we did that, it could even just be like, well, yeah, we'll come, but like they might not even want to go yet.
But I also wonder about like the perception of time. Like, maybe to the
Yeah.
spirit person, it could feel like
Yes.
I'm kind of stuck for a bit because I'm confused, or I'm like, I don't realize that
Because
I'm not alive anymore.
yeah,
And that could feel like sometimes, so it might be portrayed that way if we
yeah,
watch it in a movie or to TV. But in reality, it would be just like a split second and then they've crossed,
yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
wonder about that too.
Because time and space,
Yeah.
time is man-made. It's something
Yes.
we invented.
Yes.
Um, there was this years ago. Okay, this is the old. I thought this was pretty cool. So see what you think. But There's that show Ghost Hunters, which I've talked about before.
Yes.
But this is the original one. So the first Ghost Hunters, because there's been quite a few that have come up after that. This was like one of their earlier seasons, in which I believe they were at an old building that used to be a train station.
Okay.
And one of the they had this like box, and so if you like kind of put your hand over it, it would light up. So they like sat back away from this box, and it was a way of like saying yes or no questions. And one of the questions was, is it still 1930, whatever the year was? Is it still 1937 or whatever for you? And it lit up, yes. So like it could even be that like, hey, you're in our time. You know, we're not necessarily stuck here. This is still, maybe we're communicating with something from the past. Yeah, I don't know, you know, I don't know.
I know.
But I thought that was interesting. I just thought that was kind of cool, you know, whether that's true or not, who knows, but yeah.
Very interesting. Well, I think that's it for this week, guys. A little update for you about Erin and her wedding and all of that wonderful stuff. And definitely thinking of you, Erin, with your grandmother.
Thank you.
Let's dedicate this episode to her.
Aw, yeah. Well, that's going to make me emotional. Yeah.
Yeah, it's for
to
her.
Shirley.
Yeah. Okay, this just kind of makes my hair stand up. It's just funny because last night I did I just thought of the name Shirley, which is why my hair is standing up. Because last night I did a reading for someone, and her two nannies came through, and she told one of them's name was Shirley, and she told me, and we talked about the name Shirley. Yeah, Shirley. Wow. We talked about it, and how like when she showed me that her name was Shirley, she gave me like almost like a snapshot of PEI, and I was like, "And Shirley, like, are we talking about like labels here, right?" Yeah. But then later on in the reading, it came up that there was a connection to PEI, and so it was just
right.
this.
That's the whole.
She showed it to me. Yeah. But it just makes my arm hair stand up because when you said what's grandma's name, I thought that I was just remembering for a moment last night when grandma came through named Shirley, right? Because it was the same night, and I'm like, am I supposed to be thinking about last night?
Nope.
My arm hair is standing up.
Oh, shit. She here. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, Shirley. Sending you love, and Erin sending you love. We'll be back in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, yeah.
In 2 weeks. Hold tight. We're coming back. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye. If you like what you're hearing, don't forget to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast and tune in each week as we dish on all things spiritual.
Don't forget to like, comment on what you would like to hear us talk about next, and subscribe.